come, so you have a 1 foot by 2 foot concrete duck bank that might be in an area. And the reason we don't want to pull that up is we're going to disturb the area because you're going to have a pollinating field under this whole array. So you'll have a root mass in 25 years. In 6 years, it's about 6 feet of a root mass, which makes it very similar for percolation as a fountain. So that's one of the reasons why we're introducing a pollinating mix under the whole array, and we only cut the grass once a year. So you'll have some small concrete structures under the ground. The intent is to leave the property, remove everything, so that a next development, whatever it may be, would come in and have a piece of property sitting there that's a pasture. That's what you'll have in 25 years as a pasture.
Yeah, I mean, I wish Tom was here too. I have some questions because, more so on the planning side as to what the town does want to potentially use this land 25 years down the line. I mean, could be 30, 40 years before someone actually uses this, if it's, in terms of build out and whatnot, and this is now a multi-generational type project. If it has no intent to ever be made into something commercial, it just seems counterintuitive to, you said disturb the land, but in pollinated mix, clear cutting land is also disturbing the current environment. And these types of projects, as I said, have major impact on the rural character of our town, and at times seems really counterintuitive to parts of the comprehensive plan. And I know you guys use that as your argument for the project, but you can make the same argument for the same points you made against this plan. And so, yeah, this is all I have.
I have a little clarification on Mississippi Pasquale basically talked about concrete and above ground structures being taken off. Conduit and wiring that runs under, I'm sure you're going to do underground utilities to get to your substation. What about the underground stuff that's not?
The substation's above ground.
Yeah, I know that, but
The conduit, so all that wire will be pulled out. All right, so the wire, when you pull the transformer, all that wire will get pulled out,
okay,
because it's all copper.
Yeah.
So
okay,
the value, and nobody even taking the value of the copper that's coming off the project. But it's excessive amounts, so all the string wire and everything will all get pulled out.
Does the conduit remain underground?
The concrete duct bank with the 2 PVC pipes will remain underground. And there's one dirt project.
Thank you.
Administrator, have a comment?
Yes. Yes, to Councilman Osier's comment, the long-term target for this land in the comp plan that was just approved is as a commercial business district, office park.
This is like a space holder.
Which I think goes back to previous comp plans, and that was the future vision for that property, those properties.
I think that's only been introduced in the last one, Councilman. Prior to that, it was...
I will recheck administrative.
But that, in the current plan, it is
Forecasted 25
forecast to be
years.
a business park.
But to that though, that comes down to ensuring that we do everything correctly with this agreement. Because if we botch this 25 years from now, we just have a bunch of, we have a graveyard of solar panels, and who knows what the impact is there. So that's why I'm just saying, I think I'm for slowing down on this process, but we'll see how it plays out.
Any other comments, Mrs. O'Hara?
No.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes, Mr. President, we're going to ask the tax assessor or the finance director to explain their findings of the value of the property as it relates to commercial, residential. We've never put this package together. I'd like to hear an analysis of it. If we're at that point now, you can wait.
President, before you hear the numbers from the tax assessor, perhaps I could put context in based upon the legal cases that have been filed, a discussion with OER, review of the statutes, and just to give context. As you all know, we have learned that a significant portion of this land is in the open space, forestry, and farmland program. Right? That's a state program that it's not about the tax rate, it's about the assessed value per acre. And that's where the debate really, the real difference in money here, as the administrator pointed out last time and Councilman Bartolomoli pointed out, is not the difference between the 15 change and the 18 change in the tax rate. That would only be a matter of $3,000 between the two numbers. The real difference, and it's been debated in the towns of Exeter and Coventry and Richmond. In fact, there's been an argument today before the court, Judge Leach in Richmond, is about the town's ability to effectuate a new tax assessment code on the property because the solar panels are installed above it. That's the debate. And or to the extent that it comes out of the forestry program, because anything in the forestry program is automatically is potentially reduced if they have a certificate from DEM and or the tax assessor acknowledges it to open space or one of the other provisions. So just for context, and one thing is the first question is how much of this land is coming out of open space, forestry, and farmland? That's the real question. And I'll let Mr. Grassini answer it and then the tax assessor, but obviously that reduces the discussion down to the amount of land that is potentially subject to the assessed value change, if any. That's where we are legally. Nothing's changed in today in court. Judge Leach denied the applicant's motion to find that the state statute prohibited the town from assessing the property. It's left it to a trial in February, and he kind of indicated that he hopes that the legislature will take this up in January, and his trial's not going to be until February. So, that being said, obviously, the council's best position on anything with regard to the assessed value of property would be to let the state law determine what that is. That would be, if you really don't, that's the way you would wait and see. You'd say, whatever the state law is, that means what the legislature decides, whatever the court decides, because that's what's going to decide the outcome. So it's still exactly what we talked about last meeting. It's in litigation and in the legislature's hands. And with that said, I think the administrator and the tax assessor are going to great lengths to try to kind of work kind of a model, but you shouldn't be looking at this as the answer. So I just wanted to give you that background so you don't get too caught up on the numbers. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong on that.
The theory to all of this is, maybe oversimplifying it, under the FFOS state program, your land might be valued at $100 an acre. Once you put solar on it, they're saying it's worth $2,000 an acre, or whatever number. And that's what the argument is coming down to. And they're saying, can you do that? That's what needs to be determined. That's the wild card that's out there.
And or just pulling it out of that program is defaults it back to its original value, whatever it is. Absent, there's another provision that you understand the Office of Energy Resources is pro-development. They have a regulation that talks about the potential of the developer still qualifying for dual purpose of the land with the solar and creating some sort of farm / some sort of qualifying use underneath the solar panels, and theoretically they're opening the door at least for a discussion point, that it still may be in that category. Having said all that, the town always has the right to appeal a DEM certificate. Doesn't mean you're going to win, but you can appeal.
Just to the solicitor's point, using round numbers, the entire mass of the project, all 5 lots, is about 412 acres. The current design is about 180 or maybe a little less of those acres going towards the project. So about 56% of the project would remain in farm forest open space.
Nothing would change on that. And you wouldn't have the ability to change anything on that. Nor would these litigation case change that. Nor would state law change that.
Only the land that's being utilized for the solar.
Underneath the solar. So that's the discussion point for purposes of setting the stage for this numbers analysis.
Does everybody understand that?
I'm not sure that there's anything else the administration needs to add. That's really the crux of where this is we can come up with all kinds, and we do have spreadsheets available to try to get numbers for you based on the direction that you take it. But as the solicitor said, the state law actually will control it for the assessor, or anything we as an administration might choose.
We could take that forward approach and saying we're gonna revalue the land. And the state in February, March, whatever, the state could come back and say, oh, no, you can't. So we've gone down a road that we can't go on.
That's correct.
Or they could come back and say, yes, you can.
So maybe
That's right.
maybe the solution
Both.
is we hit that word, key phrase, or as defined by state law.
Exactly.
We use that qualifying term in our agreement as defined by state law, like we've done in the charter when we want to reference state law as it changes, as amended on top of that.
Well, to your point, Mr. President, I just want to your point, I did put an asterisk near 2 paragraphs in the tax stabilization agreement. We don't need to get into that detail now, but if the council goes in that direction, instead of indicating that nothing will change in the assessed value of the underlying property as a result of the solar, we would just say nothing would change. We would say the underlying property will be assessed according to state law, like.
As amended or whatever.
That's the answer. The answer really is you're going to go the opposite way completely, and that may or may not open the door for what these other towns are trying to do, and may or may not be where the council goes or we decide to go. But one thing's for sure, state law is going to give an answer in the next 3-4 months. Either they're going to indicate that you can do this, you can create an assessed value called solar land value. That's what Richmond has done. That's what Richmond tried to do. That's a Richmond case that was in court today. Or like some of the other towns are doing. They're going for even creating a new assessed value for the underlying land.
Underlying, so.
Not the rate, the value of the
The
assessed
value of the land.
value of the land. So I just wanted to give that background. So I think it does make some sense, at least here. I know the tax assessor has worked so hard on this. So I don't want to take, I didn't mean to take your.
Oh, no, no,
I don't want to take your.
But we could run a million scenarios because we don't know.
But
We'll
I
start
think
with
it's
a
good
million.
to, I think
See where
it's
that
good to
goes.
go through this, at least some examples.
You know, from what you informed the solicitor, I guess Judge Leach is going to postpone the trial till February, waiting to see if the state does come to a decision by the end of January, one would hope. So, yeah, we're kind of in a limbo right here.
Can I ask another question about the same topic we were just talking about? So the spreadsheet that was provided to us today.
No, we can't use the one today.
Okay. So going back to the other one, was that just based on, like, that didn't take into account any land use code changes or anything like that? It's just straight rate change? Okay, that's what I thought.
The rate change,
Yeah, yeah.
the rate changes don't really add up to enough to be worthy of this conversation.
Yeah, I was just trying to
The tax
delineate
rate
the two.
change.
Yeah,
And the rate change, and the reality is the tax rate can change every year. And that's allowed.
course.
That's allowed under OER's regulations.
But also, if you wanted to rezone the whole area commercial, and theoretically, it still doesn't add up to $3,400. The discussion point is the assessed value per acre under the land use codes. And I've learned this in the last few weeks with the help of the tax assessor and the
We're all
administrator
learning here.
and the litigation. So this is kind of the other side of this is really where the money is. And it's because of the farmland open space statute that I believe there's like an 80% deduction. I mean, I think, again, I want, this is where we get to the numbers, I want to shift that. I want to shift
Well, that's why they do it though, because it reduces their tax liability greatly. And just for the councilman, just to clarify, the reason that we can't accept that
Yeah, it's
document
today,
is
yeah.
because we got it today,
Yeah,
and
that's
now
fine.
in our packet, and we need to be consistent with that. So
Yeah, I was just
that's
using
the
it to
only
try to
reason. It's not that we
delineate.
don't appreciate the work, just, we need to have it on Thursday to be official in our packet.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to delineate the two. That's all.
But I think I'm gonna ask the tax assessor to at least walk the council through some of the work she did.
Yeah, because it's a little tough to follow, that's no all the details.
But not for the show, she's following.
This is a good example. Those sheets were done without consideration to the farm, forest, and open space consideration. So they're really, they were an exercise that we went through to try to begin the process, but once the whole farm, forest, and open space thing came in, we needed another one, and that's the one that you're not able to discuss tonight.
I think why this came about was that we heard that Richmond, Coventry, and a few other towns were going through it. I know that I wanted to get my arms around it, and that's why I asked for it. But now knowing that we're getting more information, I'm starting to understand sure the rest of us are. Yeah, I'm okay with what you're doing. I don't think we need a dissertation on this thing. That's just me.
I agree. And that's it. It's not worth it. So, yeah. We're not gonna get it, we're not gonna get a definitive answer on it, so we have to put about it all day. Try this, or try that.
What is sensitivity analysis?
Any other discussion? Any motions? Not at this time? I think we need to sit down and
Yes.
figure out where we want to really go with this now, what we want to do. And I'd ask the rest of the council, do you want to go like we did the first time when we had the first pass at this, where the vice president and myself with the administrator and solicitor sit down, we read it out and go over this together, something that we, after hearing all the discussion, something that we all know, push it toward that direction. Do we want to do that?
Yes, the comments and the questions that I made, I'm certainly going to be in the record. I want to see that in the minutes of what we discussed. And yes, I'll be happy to sit down with the solicitor, yourself, the administrator, and the applicant. I shouldn't say applicant because we're not really reviewing the plan itself.
It's an agreement with
The project development. Yep.
President, can I just make one additional suggestion, and I think if the council wants to? I know Mr. Brasini has had done a lot of work on this, and there were questions from the public about, again, Councilman Zelinski started this question about the 9 developments and why. I think, and I actually told and I know you all have the answers in your package, because I made Mr. Brasini provide them, but I do think for the record it's important, because the public had questions. So this, maybe 5 minutes, having walked through the reason why some are 5, some are 6, why they're not all one big project, and obviously we know the reason why they're not more than 40 is because it does keep them out of the site
facility site.
Keeps them out of that. But the reason why it's broken down into 9 and the way it is, I think it has some value to answer the questions that we're bringing.
Sure.
Do they have the answer?
No, but
I'm sorry, go
I
ahead.
still don't understand. Kerry's number came up from telling the megawatts in the agreement itself, but the exhibit is a map that has different megawatt numbers on it. So before you take any action, are we getting a new one of these that matches?
Well, that's why I asked. I wanted to have it stated by a registered state land surveyor, because in that it comes up to 42.74 megawatts, which is a difference of $30,380 in revenue.
But it's also a difference of, does it have to go to the energy siting board?
That's a big question.
Yes, it does.
Mr. President.
It's over 40.
Mr. President.
Yes.
One, just to set the stage, section 11 of your packet has the project separation information. And if it's inconsistent, as Mr. Clifford says, then Mr. Brasini can clarify that, but you have identified the list of the projects. Why don't you walk through that and identify if the language is inconsistent, will you state for the record that you will make it consistent?
Sure, the language itself is completely consistent. The only reason it's inconsistent with the site plan that's attached to the exhibit is because the town asked us to attach that exhibit, even though it's not final yet, because they didn't want to have an agreement without an exhibit. So we attached that with the notation. It would be updated as the project goes to preliminary plan. So it's a little bit of chicken and egg. We can't advance the next level to preliminary plan unless the town council votes on tax stabilization, because that's a condition, but I can't finalize it. It's sort of chasing its own tail. But the breakdown that I gave you in 38.4 megawatts is the correct number. the enforcement of the different qualifications, the 40 megawatts as a utility. It's a PUC, EFSB enforcement mechanism, not a town enforcement mechanism. The 10 megawatts is for virtual net metering. That's an OER PUC enforcement issue, not a town enforcement issue. And the 5 megawatts, it hasn't even been decided yet who the power off-takers would be, but that allows for eligibility to participate in the Renewable Energy Road Program, essentially, where the state mandates National Grid to buy the power. We're way ahead of who the off-takers might be. It's simply set up so that certain of the parcels, and there's a state statute that allows that breakup are done. And there was testimony at the last meeting before the council. There was significant correspondence with the PUC on this issue, so there's nothing hidden. But the numbers that you have in the agreements and in the summary provided of 38.4 are the current numbers. The only thing that isn't current is that map, because that normally wouldn't be made current until preliminary plan. And I'm more than happy to work with the solicitor to make a notation that to be updated, numbers to be disregarded, however the town wants us to do it.
Just 38.4.
Correct.
That could change,
38,
up or down, not greater than 40, but that number could change up or down based on design when it's qualified with a nameplate capacity.
it could, but I would say that's not likely at this point. That is probably the number. But you're right, it could.
But individually, like, one might be a little bit different. It could be 0.8 and the other one could be 0.3 instead of 0.
Again, they could move a little bit.
They could move because based on the number of panels that you're putting in, and I know it's an estimate, that and everything. The total wouldn't exceed 38.4, but each of those separate things could change a point something.
Small changes
in theory.
Small changes individually or in the aggregate are possible. They're just not anticipated right now.
Based on what is designed and what it's going to do. But once the nameplate is stuck on it,
Correct.
That's where that value going up or down depends on the nameplate.
And that's what Mr. DiPasquale was indicating. You don't have to